Hello everyone. So today a rather specific video since I will be checking and restocking a cache of equipment hidden in the forest. So the video will be a bit short because I don't have much time right now. There's a lot of work with preparing the survival courses for this summer. I aim for these courses to be highly intensive and educational. And those who come will see that I have included a lot of new elements that you don't usually find in survival books. Note that around half of the spots are already reserved. So I sincerely thank all the participants I'm in contact with for responding so quickly. Returning to the video's topic, it's important to note that the type of caches we will explore today are widely used in sensitive areas, in regions that are really politically unstable, or in areas with high crime rates, and where you have expatriates, generally, who want to make sure they have a backup plan. So it's a little secret, let's say. It's part of the toolkit for people who are in those areas. And when they are advised, so depending on their location, depending on the context in which they are on site, obviously. So in principle, we add passports with visas already issued, so that we can evacuate to a neighboring country in an emergency. So these are passports that you need to have duplicates of course. That's a common practice in some regions. So as far as our country is concerned, it's really something ultimate, let's say. Personally, I've been used to this kind of technique for a long time. I've been using it for a long time. So it's an element that can be useful in certain situations, like during an evacuation. So that's what I explained in the recent video about urban evacuation. So it might seem a bit extreme, of course, but you can also see it as insurance. We're glad and happy not to have to use it. So in any case, it's information you can keep in the back of your mind. And if by chance you ever have to go through tougher times, here or elsewhere, you'll see that there are 2 or 3 interesting little things to know. So geographically, it's set up in an area that you can easily reach from your home. Of course, but there are many scenarios. Each situation is different. So you might live in the city, in the countryside, or have a second home you want to get to. In case of difficulty, you also need to consider situations where you might be on foot, on a bike, in a car, and so on. So all this information really needs to be considered for the location and contents of the cache. So there are no general rules here. We'll look at an example that matches my situation. Personally, and that won't necessarily be reproducible in every situation. So today the goal will be to check all the equipment and replace any expired equipment. So we might have some surprises. The equipment could be damaged, it could be missing, it could be destroyed. So you never know. Normally, these checks should be done every year, so it's been 2 years since I last did it. We're going to take a look at the condition. We'll see if there are any surprises, and that's all the more reason to carefully check the condition of the equipment this time. So in this area, you should know that I have 2 separate caches that are 3,400 meters apart from each other, and each plot for each cache has completely different vegetation. That allows me to secure one of the 2 caches if, for example, there was logging work on one of the 2 plots. So originally, each cache was designed for just one person, and one of them is better stocked than the other. With a full inventory, the second cache is therefore a bit less stocked. Because there's no point in putting some items in twice. We'll see that. I'm going to show the fullest cache today, and I'll check the second cache a bit later. For the location now, there are a few rules to follow, so the place where you're going to set up this type of cache. It's generally a forested area, easy to access, that you won't be able to forget. So it's an area that obviously also needs to be out of sight from prying eyes. So the most important factor is that it's still an area with a low population density. So the area needs to be well drained. That's important because if the water table rises, the container will rise too. So for the location, you can take photos from several angles. If you want, you can obviously make marks reference points or just remember them. You can also take the global positioning system coordinates, which can allow you to share them with someone if needed, with some additional information. Still, for the last ones. For the depth. Now you have 3 major risks. First, there may be forestry work that can expose the area, expose the cache. Secondly, you have risks of freezing depending on the area. And thirdly, you have metal detectors that can possibly detect the cache as they pass by. So, for these 3 reasons in particular, you also have animals, but that's less common from experience. So, for these 3 reasons, you need to dig deep enough. So, depending on the geographical area, the frost-free zone is not the same. Obviously, depending on the contents, you'll have items that are more or less sensitive to freezing, like water or canned goods, which can burst if they're not stored properly. So normally, if all the metal parts that are in the containers are at the bottom 1 meter from the surface, the metal detectors should be inoperative. But to be safe on that side, you really need a meter. So we also have the decoy technique, which involves polluting the area with nails and washers. And that's to disrupt the search by metal detectors. So it's not a very commendable practice. It's better to dig a little deeper to be safe, and it's also more discreet. So you also have the option to separate the metal objects and put them in a different cache. Here's another little tip. If you're really in a cold region, it's recommended to put some sand in when you fill the hole back up. That will allow you easy access by digging in loose soil at any time of the year, even without tools, whereas frozen clay would be almost impossible to dig. So now, let's see if I'm lucky. It's not obvious. You really need to clear the edge here. Well, the sand is very loose. It's well drained. It rained, but this sand is almost dry. So here, it's much easier compared to a rocky or clay area. I don't have many balls left, but it's still possible. With some luck, it'll work. Yes, there you go. So you can see that the hole is still quite deep. There, that's about 1 meter. So the best material to use is the barrels, what we call a barrel like this one, which really allows for excellent waterproofing. So you can also put a plastic bag around it. Here, I put it in directly like this, just as it is, because I trust this material. So there are no metal parts at this level, so it wouldn't be easily detectable. And moreover, this model allows you to secure the seal, actually to tighten the seal without damaging it. So this part here is removable, and it's this part that will press right here on the lips of the seal. There you go. Already I can see that there was no water, no damage. Now let's see what's inside. So we'll do a quick inventory of this equipment now, and then I'll change what has changed. So here I have a small towel here, a notebook. So these are special notebooks. Humidity. And you can even almost write in the rain. A working compass, a map of the region. So here, a tarp. So this is a more basic part. All the equipment you're going to see here is generally low quality gear, but in a tough situation, it will be useful to you. So here, equipment for cleaning wild plants. It's always important to have that when you're in the forest. So here, I have a small tent that's extremely quick to set up. These are very inexpensive little tents made from survival blanket materials. In general, it's Mylar, so this can be set up in 5 minutes. You take shelter and you also have thermal protection. Damage. Poncho here, a poncho. That barely smells musty. That's the real deal. That must be 10 millimeter nylon. That's very good for trapping large animals and for setting up camps. So now the firebox. So here a lighter that works. The gas could have possibly escaped here. A fire steel, but a large model with magnesium. So that's a fire starting model that I really like. Totally reliable. Some candles that are a bit stuck together, slightly deformed. There must have been a bit of heat, but it still looks like it's just at the level of the lip balm. Here, a small box of matches. Why not? So it works. There's no problem here. Some solid Arabic alcohol. It can always be useful in a pharmacy still in a diploma. So here you really have some basic emergency supplies. There are still bandages, there's alcohol, there are painkillers, and here's some Hedaline. Well, a little bit of equipment to handle minor injuries if there were any. Next, we find a pen, a ballpoint pen that was intentionally at the bottom, and it didn't leak. And it works here. Now, a bit of paracord, always useful at a campsite. So this is 550, it's type 3. Normally, this is a piece of poor quality, but at least it's there when you need it. So here, a small hand saw, a hand chainsaw, which aren't the most effective, which can still be useful for cutting a few logs just in case. And it has the advantage of being quite compact in terms of size. So, a waterproof bag? I don't remember what was inside. Oh yes, here we have all the fishing gear. Because you should know that here, just a few hundred meters, maybe a kilometer away, there's a pretty big pond with quite a lot of fish, especially black bass. Very easy to fish. Always interesting, even if it's not the best fish. So here we have a rod, the reel that goes with it. Some worm here for the connoisseurs. Well, that's just a quick tap. Here, I have some artificial lures that aren't the best. But then, here, this is my little fishing gear that I already showed before. But well, this one is a smaller model. Let's say where I have sinkers, hooks, extra line, a few floats, etc., which allows you to move around really discreetly with this in your pocket and to be able to fish. Then more lures and extra line. I think there will also be some spoons in the little kit. Ah, yes, so that's some equipment I haven't shown yet. It's a piece of equipment. It's the American yo-yo. It's equipment that will allow you to triple or even quadruple your catches. On bottom lines, you should know that bottom lines are used for fishing all over the world, and so this is equipment that is really very effective, which we add for bottom lines. So here, there are 5 of them. So we're really in a survival model here. In principle, this kind of practice is forbidden. The waterproof bag will allow you to carry water. In particular, you should know that here 700 meters away, there is a source of drinking water with a stream downstream from the source. So I don't have any water here, but I have a bit of equipment to decontaminate it just in case. But it's already a source that's really of very, very good quality. So you have to be careful with this kind of spring because during troubled times, there are a lot of people around the springs. Sometimes they can even be watched, so you have to be careful. But you can collect water downstream from the spring in the small stream, where it will still be, in any case, of very good quality. It will be more discreet and it will be preferable. Now, we'll discuss the mess kits. So here, I have a cup, a canteen cup. This is to keep everything dry. So it goes at the bottom in the main mess kit. If there had been water, moisture, we would have caught the moisture and it would have been collected in this mess kit. So she discovered camping. Here we have a minimalist toiletry kit. So soap and razor. A lamp with a metallic base that doesn't work anymore. So here, we're going to be able to change the batteries. So I'm going to set this aside, a metal water bottle as well. So I put all the metal items at the bottom on purpose. A headlamp that still works, that seems to be working well. But I'm still gonna change the batteries because I brought a sponge. The mess kit series. Well, here I have 2 Surflex that can always come in handy. A low-quality knife, but it's brand new with a factory edge, so it's pretty much perfect. And another multi-tool that's rusty, so this one is really a low-quality multi-tool that cost a few euros, which can be used for cutting wire, things like that. So to finish, we have some little walkie-talkies here. While they're intentionally without batteries, the batteries that I brought here, while they could work just by bringing the batteries, I preferred not to leave them here. So if you have them, you can use it. They're full. If you don't have them, you can't use them. So these ones, they have the advantage of doing FM as well.
The production of the next series, Memoir Vive, on M6, is actively looking for a man over 60 years old who wears glasses, like the famous German inspector.
This is a crucial announcement you are sharing this morning.
Charles Magnin Metier, that's you?
Very well. So here, I have both. I'm going to test both. Obviously, this one works very well. So there's still a small bag left. It's always interesting to have a small bag, so you should know that. This goal here, it's going to help me quite easily make a brew. You can very easily turn the barrel into a backpack so you can go get water or any resources you need. Thanks to the boot and the barrel. The barrel. When you set up a camp, it will really be useful in the winter, especially when it's damp. It will serve as a stool and to store all your gear and for transport. So, very interesting. The barrel itself is super important. So here, we have a very small backpack with a change of clothes, which suits me. So, underwear, t-shirt, socks, quite simply, and a very small bag that can also be useful. So we've reached the end. Here we have NRJ5. So NRJ5. So we're at 2,300 calories. Well, it's not that it's very good. It's edible in several different ways. You can heat it up. You can eat it as is with wild plants. It makes a good side dish. There, you actually have energy. It's nourishing. You really have something nourishing for 24 hours. No problem. So we got 1, 2, 3. Here I have water decontamination tablets that fell from I don't know where. And here you have what I came to change, especially because we're dealing with standard combat rations. 24 hours. So, pretty nice. In a situation where we're really tired, we need to recharge. They're really expired 2023, so I'll change that one. Well, you should know that you can eat them much, much later than that, but I prefer to use ones that aren't expired. So here we've got August 30th, 2025, so I've got more than a year left. There you go. This is number 5, whereas before I was on 14, so now it's empty. So I'll be able to change 3 elements. Change the batteries too. I need to take a closer look at that. I'm going to change the battery. Here I have all the same small batteries, so I have 7 here. So here, indeed, there's a bit, they've started to corrode a little. You can see it, they've corroded a little. Yeah, that's the only damage I have. And then they're a bit weak. I think that by putting in the new ones, because these are headlamps that are really powerful. So you should also know that when I put the toque on 2 years ago, it was in the middle of summer and we were a strongly anticyclonic system, which is very favorable for preservation. Since it was very dry, the air was very dry. This year, it will be much less favorable because there is still a bit of humidity in the air. And I would really have an interest in doing my next check within a year. So, as you can see, with all this equipment, the specifications are quote-unquote being met. It's about being able to stay on site for a few days in relative comfort, even when arriving completely exhausted. That's not always the case. There can be caches that are made for different evacuation models. hope this brief presentation can give you some points to think about. Of course, you'll need to put this into context with your own situation on the day, of course, when you might eventually need it. As usual, make good use of it, and I'll see you soon for another video.